Right, so just as I've already said to you, just for housekeeping and GDPR, if you want to ask any questions or anything comes up, either jot it down and ask at the end, because I'll stop recording and any questions and have a Q&A at the end, but I won't record that. Or write me a little message in the chat box and I will get to it. Or just because if you unmute yourself, then there will be a lot of people seeing your face, which is lovely, but you might not like that. So tonight is a passion of mine, which is course creation. You may probably, because some of you are doing or have done a course with me. And I see a lot of people getting really stuck writing courses and not really know where to start, or actually writing courses and then it sits there in a nice little pile, kind of unfinished with a lot of content and doesn't really kind of match anything. And it never gets put out there because there's always more work to be done. I see that so much. And when I first launched this, basically I would do a really great course creating blueprint, or like course creating, architect your own course basically. So I started doing that specifically for EFT practitioners because I've got an incredible way of teaching other people how to use EFT within groups. But I kind of realized that actually anybody can write courses. They've just got to have the motivation to do it. But a lot of people do it arse about tip, basically. They just literally write everything down and get it all higgledy-piggledy. And there's big things that come up. Why would you bother? Who would buy it? How do you even sell this thing? And who's going to listen to you? What's your authority? What do you write it on? There's a lot of questions. So some of you have worked with me, would have gone through some of those questions before, and some of you will still be oblivious if you've never gone over this before. So tonight, it's rather than a masterclass or a workshop, this is like specific things that you can do like tomorrow or tonight or today, whichever time zone you're in, that will actually get you further into creating your course. The first thing I think is a really good exercise, right, is a financial one, and it's to see the benefits to you financially, because it's not dirty and it's not bad. It's good to have money, as we've gone before, and it's to understand if you start jotting down how much you charge an hour. Right, I would literally do this in the moment if you can now. So write down how much you charge. Currently, you charge for an hour's session. If you do an hour and a half sessions, like try and round it to an hour. Like it's a really rough mathematical thing. Okay, I'll do it as well so I don't get myself in a complete pickle. Okay. Then write down, ideally, what you would like to receive is working a 10-hour week or a 15-hour week. How many hours do you actually want to work a week in an ideal scenario? Like you living your wonderful, wonderful life. Don't think, well, I'm going to have to work 40 hours to get that many thing. I would just like, how many hours is good for you? For me, like 3 hours a day sits quite nicely. 3 hours a day, three days a week would be amazing. So that sits really well with me and my life. And then just multiply it. So if you've written £50 an hour and you want to work 5 hours a day, so you think, well, okay, well, £50 an hour, 250 quid a day, times that by 5, and you have got 1,250. However, one of those days is going to be admin, so you're actually going to be able to earn £50 an hour. Probably not. So times it by that and then divide it, take a quarter off, because that's going to be admin, marketing and stuff like that as well. So whatever your one is, so if you say I want to work 5 hours a day, just at least have 1 or 2 hours a day purely that you are not going to be in money-making activities. Does that make sense, or have I really confused everybody already? Okay, right. Okay, so let's just say, for argument's sake, £50 an hour, 5 hours a day, take off a quarter. So we're looking at about £1,000 a week. Awesome. Okay. Now within that, you've also then got to keep getting new clients. And that is basically bearing in mind, you're going to be working with a fresh client for 1 hour, for 4 hours a day. You are going to have a client every single day, working with 1 hour of marketing a day. You know, and that's not taking a day off. That's not taking a day off in the week. That's not having a holiday. That's you. And you think, well, actually, yeah, £1,000 a week. But look at it and see how actually is that going to work for you? Are you going to be able to get that many clients in? And look how quickly burnout might happen. So with you permanently marketing, if you're an EFT, you know how quickly this stuff gets healed. You're going to always need a churn of clients. And it's that churn that's exhausting. So you very rarely do EFT practitioners get long-standing clients, because it's just so quick and it's so amazing and it's great, but people don't need you for very long. So it's not like each client's going to make you a lot of money. I'm starting with money because I just want to get it out of the way. Okay, so you could earn that, but you can't take a day off. Can't have a bad day. You've got to be consistently having these people coming in, and that is hard, really, really hard, and it's quite exhausting. And within a year, I imagine you would be close to burnout. And with all the will in the world, yes, £1,000 a week might sound nice. Some weeks it might be more like £100 a week. So on a monthly basis, you might be thinking, well, okay, that's 2,500 to 3,000 a month. That's not taking a day off. And what if you get sick? And all of a sudden, £2,500 a month when you're working for yourself with no let up isn't actually very much money. It's all right for when everything's peachy and everything's going well, but what are you going to do when you need a break? And when you are serving clients, you need to do that. So course creation puts a whole nother spin on it. If you go back to how many hours you'd like to work a week, including admin and everything, and then I'll take my last course, for example, which is Prosper on Purpose. Okay, so I've already done most of the groundwork for that. So a lot of the time I just show up. When I've sold into my course, I then show up and do anywhere between an hour and 7 in one evening. It's not 7 hours. It's between an hour, so about two and a half hours for 8 weeks, once a week. And then I will have some admin, but once you've written the course and you redo it, there isn't that much admin. So if you think, okay, I work 3 hours a week, let's say 5 hours a week for 8 weeks, and each person has paid, either they're on a payment plan of £88 a month, £166 a month over 6 months, or they've paid up front £888. And you work out, okay, 888, 5 hours a week, 5 times 8 is, that's 40. God, I'm quite quick at this now. So 40, if you look, even if I had like one person sign up, I'm not doing too badly, really. And bear in mind that people sign up and never show up. People sign up and do this, and also people sign up and pay me every month. So I have a consistent monthly recurring revenue that I'm still getting people paying me for courses they took in February. So every time I launch a new course, I'm just topping up my monthly recurring revenue all the time, because some people pay in full, great. Some people pay 6 months and some people pay 12 months. So if you did a course 4 times a year, 3 times a year, you are actually increasing your bottom line monthly recurring revenue every single time I launch a course. And so the first time you launch, maybe 5 people or 2 people will sign up. That's you. For rounding up numbers, that's £100. Say you're selling it for £1,000, £100 a month. That's £200 a month for selling your first course, and you've got that now for 12 months. Now, say 3 months later, you launch another course, you're still getting your £200 a month, and you can sell a different course, the same one, whatever it might be, and you get 5 people at £500 a month. You've now upped your monthly recurring revenue to £700 a month. And that's going to continue. And you see how very quickly you build, and the panic doesn't set in, because yes, you're launching something, but when you set up payment plans and let people pay on a payment plan, which is actually, I think, a really great way of doing it, you are consistently upping your bottom line, and you're not panicking about marketing. So say maybe you launch a course, and I've done it before. I've launched a course. I kind of half-assed it. I knew I was going to do it, but my head wasn't in the launch process, but I really wanted to run it anyway. It's not, because every single person that signs up is just adding to your bottom line. And if once you've already written the course the first time, which I'll go into, you're just kind of doing it again. So you're actually just rinsing and repeating and adding to it. So like last night with Prosper on Purpose, it's me, I've merged 2 courses together. So last night I've never done before. So all the videos you'll see, most of the videos that I did after the course that I took. So it took me another 2 hours after we worked last night, but I don't have to do them again. So I never have to do those videos again. If I don't want to, I can top them up. But I have a bank of about 75 videos. Legality. Okay, I'll write that down. Thank you, Jane. I'll ask you about that later. It was Jane, wasn't it? Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, cool. Legality, very cool. The legal side of it, yeah, okay, no worries. I'll talk about that later. I have a huge amount, a bank of videos that every course I've done, I've saved all my little short videos that you'll see when you log into all my courses. Where do I store all the videos? I'll show you. I have a platform that I work in Kajabi, which you've been logged into, and an external hard drive. There you go. And you'll see that my videos, if you do log in, I don't like editing because it's really boring. So I do everything in one take. I put a little thingy and I just go for it. And I don't worry that it might look a bit whatever. I very much rely on what I'm saying rather than me looking pretty or have my hair done or be sitting in the right place or whatever it might be. I know what I need to say. I get it across, have the subtitles if need be, and that's it. So that's how I don't do much edit. I don't do any editing at all, if I'm honest, because I don't enjoy it. So if it gets really, really big and I need to look a bit more plush, I'll pay someone to do the editing. But right now, I don't think it's important. So yeah, we can make life very difficult for ourselves, or we can just trust ourselves. So every time I run a course, I then have a bank of videos I can use, and say I'm learning all the time as well. So every time all my learnings are happening, I do add to every single course, but I'm not writing them from scratch. I know exactly what I'm going to show up and do. And sometimes some nuggets will come in, like intuitively, they'll come in. And so I have to then do another video, but I'm not spending hours each time. So the hardest course you'll ever run will probably be the least profitable and the first one. So the first time you run it will probably be for a few amount of people, maybe one, and it will take you the most amount of work. But after that, that's where it becomes semi-passive. Yeah, they do. Yeah, you'll get trolled, and yeah, absolutely you will. 100% they will. So that's where testimonials can come in, and that's where. But yeah, so somebody's just written there about somebody will ask you to show your credentials. Cool, no worries. I will. Okay, I'll talk about that. So I'm going to write that down because you make a good point. Yeah, that's where imposter syndrome comes in a little bit as well, I think, though. So you then get to decide how many hours you work, and how do you answer that? I will go into it later. I'm going to try and keep really on point, but I will tell you how to answer that. There's different ways to answer that as well. From someone who has been trolled lots and asked for my independent financial advisor, I'm like, I'm not telling you how, I'm not telling you this, I'm telling you that, but it depends on what you write a course about. So it might become clear in the things I'm going to talk about, Jane, but if not, I will answer them at the end. And I've written them down to cover them in what I'm going to write and what I'm going to talk about as well. So here we go, cool. So the first thing is to understand that the financial benefit is massive. And that if you have an off week, it doesn't affect your income. the relief that can have for someone who's not going to really, you won't really see a break in me doing anything, and I'm going to have a baby. So, I mean, like, without being like, I couldn't do a normal practice whilst in, like, 37 weeks pregnant, literally touching the head of my baby every time I stand up. It's that nuts at the moment. But honestly, it's really like I stand up and go, oh, hang on, the Braxton Hicks coming. But I can actually continue my business, continue what I'm doing, whilst actually having a baby. I homemade my kids. I do it pretty much on my own, and I still run a successful business because every single time I launch a course, I add to my bottom line, and I add different things in and stuff like that. So it becomes a really viable option. Now, it doesn't have to be everything you do, but it is a really great thing if you have something to offer. Now, it doesn't need to be, there's no specific thing it has to be about. And the other thing, because the thing, so I'm going to go back to the money, then I'll start on that. So to do with the money, it's working out exactly how much this could change. I mean, I've worked out that when I launched Life on Purpose in January last year, I also launched it with course creation. So I did 2 courses at the same time. Now, those 2 courses netted me £15,000. People paying on payment plans. I'm just saying in total, that's what people pay me, the payment plans and pay up front and everything like that. So I did both of them together. I launched them both in January. That's what they netted me. And I can say that now because everyone's finished paying for them now, because I did it only for maximum of 10 months. So I know how much they netted me because I didn't get any defaults. I got 1, but then they paid me anyway, so that's fine. And I was working 2 nights a week, and I was doing a bit more because I hadn't done Life on Purpose before, but I had a lot of videos from my other courses that I kind of put in, and course creation was a lot more work because I just created it. But I was probably working to do those 2 courses for 8 weeks, 6 hours a week on them for 8 weeks, and it made me that's what I netted over 10 months, but just for those 8 weeks. So that's quite a lot of money. And it didn't take that much doing, because it wasn't that many people, because I was selling them for just under £800 each. So, it wasn't like I had hundreds of people in. And I'm not saying it's bank breaking. I'm just saying that was what the first launch of the first sort of Life on Purpose and the first course creation created. So that's what it was able to do. And then, like I say, then I relaunched course creation, relaunched Mind Your Money, which I did earlier in there about this time last year, and added again to my bottom line. So I permanently am increasing every month what I'm bringing in. So if you want to work out how much that is per hour, that's quite a lot of hundreds of pounds an hour that I created for myself if you want to do an hourly rate. And the only limit was how many people were coming in. So I'm not governed by how many hours I'm governed by how many people sign up. My hourly rate is now not to do with how many £50 an hour that I charge. It's like, well, how many people will sign up and how many people are going to come into my world and do this with me? So the more people who sign up, the more I make. I mean, it's quite simple, but I think it's when you're used to working hourly and time for money, it's a very, very different world, because it's now time for it's money for effort, it's money for a service, not for time. Because the worst thing we're taught is like, time is money. You're like, no, it isn't. Time is not money. Time you can't get back. I mean, you can make more money, but you can't make more time. You can't get it back. So time is priceless, so value it. Putting a price and how much you charge an hour has now almost become alien. So like when I do sessions with people, the reason I don't maybe care about time is because I care about what the offer, the service I'm providing. It's not, well, I'm here for an hour and a half, I've charged them 100 odd quid or whatever. What I've actually done is this is this thing I'm offering, and either one person will turn up or 25 people will turn up. It's still the same thing I'm offering. I'm not going to cut it short because only one person's turned up. I'm not going to fluff it out because more people are turned, just so to me, but it's about a service. And when you get out of the time for money headset, it does free things up, because I thoroughly believe time is somewhat of an illusion anyway. So, it completely changes the way you can operate, and you can work very much more. I'm a night owl. I like working at night. I wake up at 4 a.m. Somebody see my post at 4 a.m. I do, and I'm very creative at that time. I can't tell my clients to meet me at 4 a.m. unless I want to work with people in the States. I can't say, oh no, I'm too tired today, I can't work with you. But when I do in course creation, you can work when it suits you, because you can be creative at times to suit you. So for me, it's a real game changer, and it doesn't stop me doing one-to-ones. But one-to-ones are very different now, because it's not scratching at it. It's not taking on clients that aren't suited to me, that I'm just doing because I need the money. I'm taking on clients that actually I know I can help and work with, and it's not about I have to take them. It's the fact that, oh my goodness, we're going to work really well together, and they're like, I know I can help them change their lives, kind of thing, if that makes sense. And when you're in this world, sometimes you do take on clients that aren't ideal, because you have to pay the bills. And so it was a big game changer when I started not working like that. The next thing, so once you've got your head around, actually, this could be a really great additional income. It could be a full income. It's a semi-passive income once you get started. Where do you start? Where you actually start is, I remember someone said to me, the first thing to do is, what did you need 2 years ago? That's where a lot of people start. I'm not saying that's a definite place to start, but we don't have to do it to run a course on anything specifically to do with your training. So this, with the guys, you're basically teaching somebody something you know. And my first course was on back pain, because I knew it. I was a Pilates instructor, I was an EFT, a breathwork coordinator. So I knew how to get rid of back pain. It didn't sing to me, but I did. Then I did weight loss. Now I am trained in weight loss as well. It didn't sing to me either. The first one that really did sing to me was when I did relationship detox, and I helped people understand the relationship with themselves and something else. So people came with narcissistic relationships, with illnesses. Actually, I had a couple with illnesses. Some people had the relationship with their body, and they like them. One lady had eczema, and one lady kept getting UTIs, and someone else, I just can't get a relationship. I can't fall in love. I'm incapable of loving. And that was incredible. That was the first bloke actually who'd ever come on a course, and it was quite incredible. And now I'm not a relationship specialist. I haven't got any specific relationship qualifications, but I do know a lot about the dynamics of relationships and what to spot, because I have a massive history, years of narcissistic relationships. And I really did a lot of research. I did a lot of trial and error with how the dynamics of relationships with anything, you and something else. And that kind of really was the first time I really think, oh, this is great. But I felt like it was a really important thing for me to do was on relationships. And then I thought, well, how about a relationship with money? How about a relationship? And actually, well, hang on a sec. What about the relationship with your business? We need a purpose. And that's how I wrote the next course. And it was actually one thing sparked the other. So I haven't done relationship detox again. But a lot of the stuff I covered in that course, I cover still now, like all the different modules. It's just a bit bigger, and I've looked more in depth to it. And I've realized that everything is a relationship. So I don't need to, it's almost like, well, that's now just a given, that our relationship with this other thing is just a relationship. Anything that isn't us being on our own is an interaction and a co-creation, therefore it's a relationship anyway. So that's where I'm coming from. So you start, it can be, when someone said, where were you 2 years ago? When I first started, I was like, oh my God, I was in the most miserable, narcissistic, abusive relationship. Let me just put this on silent. So I started there thinking, do you know what? But I got out. And how did I get out? What did I have to do to be here now? 2 years later, it was actually probably where, so I wrote it, I did it, oh my God, I didn't. Yeah. So I got out of the abusive relationship in 2020 and I wrote the course in 2021, and I was thriving. And so I spent, it was 2 years ago, I was there thinking I was going under and I was going to lose everything, including my mind, being gaslighted, being all the awful things that happen. And I got to a place where I thought, oh my God, I can help people get here. I'm not saying I'm everywhere, but I'm not saying I'm where I want to be in the end, but coming here, having that separation, actually not buying into it anymore, was the most powerful place I'd ever been. And that's why I did it on that. So where do you start? That's where you start. You find just something that you could start teaching. You have something that are passionate about. It could be that you renovated a car. It could be that you know how to train puppies, or it could be that you know how to, you have a real knack for decorating. It doesn't necessarily have to be serious. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that your heart and soul is into. It just has to be something that you've learned, you know the pitfalls of because you've gone through it, and you could help somebody get from A to B quicker. Because the reason, I mean, if you think about it, every single piece of information is probably available on the internet. If someone wants to search YouTube and every single thing else, Facebook, go to every single masterclass that's out there, they would probably pick up all the information they need that you would give them, I would imagine. So it's not about teaching them something that they probably couldn't get. It's about getting them to where they want to do in the most wonderful, easy way. Because some things we need to learn the hard way, I suppose. Some things we feel we need to do the journey, and some things we just want to know how to do. I don't want to go and train to be an electrician to know how to change a fucking plug. I want someone to tell me how to change a fuse in a plug. I don't want to do the 4 years of being an electrician. I don't want to do it professionally. I just want to know how to, okay, so how do I rewire that? Or how do I do that? Or I want to know very quickly. I've done courses, I've done 3-week courses where it's just, right, I just learn I want to learn a skill without having to bloody go through the whole shebang. I want someone to teach me. I'm going to pay for that. I'm going to pay for the ease of learning. Does that make sense? So the reason people sign up with me is because they've got stuck somewhere. They've got stuck with purpose. They've got stuck with money. And they get stuck with how to create a course. And like I say, everything I could teach you probably could find somewhere else. But I take you through step by step how to get from A to B in probably quite a beautiful way, in ways that you wouldn't maybe have found easily, or they're my ways as well. So that's what you're looking for. What have you overcome so you understand, and what could you actually teach? Now, I think somebody's here, I won't say names because of masterclass, but somebody's here with a brainstorming session and actually realize all the things you are teachable, all the skills you actually have that you might not be aware of. That's actually a whole session itself. It's a whole module in itself within my the course I run. But it actually really shows you what you are capable of teaching. And it's something I do independently. So I run business brainstorming sessions to actually find out what you would do on its own now, because although it's part of the course, I run a module on its own. So, but it's basically just, I would tap on it and say, okay, so what could I teach? What do I know? What could I actually teach? It doesn't have to be your legacy. It doesn't have to be the thing you do forever. And you don't need to worry about how to create it yet. That's not important either. What's important is that something you have been through, that you can understand, that you could actually answer lots of questions on because you've been through the journey, and that you have real life solutions for. So yeah, so it can be everything from dog training, making money. A lot of people are doing that at the moment. Course creation. I went through 2 years of trying to write courses and getting it wrong and getting it very right, and then understanding what the difference was. And that's why I now run a course on it, because actually It's really simple when you know how. Same as finding your purpose. When you know actually what to look for, it's a really exciting journey, but it can be devastating if you just can't dig into the right places. So that's why I do that. But it can be on absolutely anything. If you're really good at knitting, if you've there's an amazing intuitive healer I know, but she does a course on how to heal the mind by colouring in. So people are there and they're colouring and they're chatting, and she actually runs courses on artistic healing, so creative. So people are actually just colouring in their own drawings whilst actually healing their mind at the same time. It's really clever. Oh, someone's coming in. It's really clever and it's amazing and it's really fun, and that's her thing. So it doesn't have to be what other people have done. How to do that? I will do the legal thing, Jane. It's just that I'm going to do it at the end. The legal parameters, there really aren't many unless you're going to. The legal parameters is what you offer and what you promise. Unless you're saying, I'm going to, the legalities of running courses, actually, you need to speak to your insurance company, but you can run courses. It depends what you're going to promise. If you're going to say, and if you are going to train someone to be something. So when you trained to be an EFT practitioner, you went on a course with somebody who had the authority to be able to give you a certificate to say you're a practitioner. You can actually run courses on teaching people how to do EFT because you are an EFT practitioner. You're not training them to be practitioners, you're showing them how to use it. So the difference is what your promise is. What are you actually offering people? And you're not promising that they're going to, right, if you do this, this is going to happen. But I would speak to your insurance companies, and they're like, well, what do you do? So we teach them this. This is my contract, blah, blah, blah. And you'll get a contract written up for you if you need to. The legalities aren't the problem unless you're going to say, I'm a PhD and I'm going to cure you. Then you are literally in a boatload of problems. But the legalities are really, I'm going to offer this. This is the possible outcome. These are my testimonials. This is what is possible, but it's up to you. I don't promise that people are going to leave healed and everything's going to be okay. What I do say is I'm going to give you this, and this is the possible outcomes, but I can't guarantee outcomes because I don't know how hard people are going to work. I don't know how much people are going to take in, if people are going to show up. So it's a case of being very, very honest and having massive integrity with what you do. And if you're unsure, which I know that one lady is very unsure, then you speak to your insurance company. Speak to your insurance company and say, can you give me a hand here? I want to do this. Where, are you the right people to speak to or whatever? But you'd be surprised that you're allowed to teach something because of an experience. Now, the knowledge industry, which is what it is now, is like, the numbers are like insane, like the billions and billions of dollars a year that people spend to learn something. I don't know if this is relevant. When I wanted to sell some products in a store, I checked with my insurance company and said, as long as it's related to what I do, then I'm sure for it. And I was covered, exactly. So, and if you're unsure, there are specific companies that cover people who run courses. They're literally, it's because it's a multi-billion-dollar business worldwide. It's the biggest growing industry in the world, because people want knowledge, and people don't necessarily want to go to university and learn how to be a doctor. They just want, how do I actually fix that thing of mine? How do I actually do this thing? I don't want to go to college. I want to learn from somebody who knows what they're talking about, who I want to pick. I just want to learn it quickly. So you'll see, you can look up anything, and there'll be somebody who can help you by running a course on it. If you get certified, if you come up with an amazing modality, you can get certified, and then you can then teach your thing to other people to teach. But that's like what the Carl Dawsons of the world do. They say, oh, this is what I've got, and they get certified to teach it. That's nothing that I personally have ever, briefly I wanted to do it, and I thought, I just don't want to do that. But that's the only time which you know, if you're going to tell people, I'm going to get you qualified so you can teach, that's where you're going to run into some different blocks, and actually more, yeah, you get to get certified. You can certify your course. You can get it certified if you want to. That's not anything I really know much about, and that'd be something to speak to a legal professional about, to get your what's the process to get a course certified. Currently within, you know, again, I don't want to talk too much about that because it's not my area of knowledge. I know that I'm within my parameters of what I can do with my insurance company and things like that. So but what to write your course about would be something you're passionate about, something you've been through, and something you have had challenges. So I get asked a lot, how could you not just show me how to be confident on camera? And I'm like, no, because I've never really struggled with it. I've never had an issue. I can't show, if I've just rocked up and talk on camera without really caring. And yes, I could probably guess the things you're going through, but I don't really know the pitfalls because I've never really had to work on it. So as much as I could probably guess, I would feel really disingenuous talking about how to be confident when I've not really experienced a lack of confidence doing it. Does that make sense? So whilst I'm good at something, doesn't mean I'm necessarily the right person to teach on it. Another flip side is that one of my best friends, her mum, who cannot swim, taught her children to swim because she knew the technicalities of it. She just hadn't done it herself. So it's very interesting. You might have learned something, but you've learned it for a very different purpose. So just because you're good at it doesn't mean that thing is what you want to write a course on. It's a journey that you've been on that you could help somebody else with. So it's a journey that so like I can understand when I first did it with back pain, I did, what can I do? I didn't do knee pain or foot, but I did lower back pain because it plagued me. And I wanted to help other people. And it did. It was amazing. It was really cool. I used a combination of breath work, EFT, and Pilates. It was friggin' amazing. It just wasn't my calling. So I didn't do it again. I put a load of work into it. And I'm really glad I did because I learned a lot. But I didn't do it, because I didn't do it on headaches because I never had headaches. What would be the point? I did it on how to overcome lower back pain because it literally ruined my life for a while. Narcissistic relationships, again, it was such a powerful journey that I help other people get through that toxic relationship journey as well. So that's why I did those things, because I'd been through quite a journey myself, and I wanted to help other people through the journey with the things I'd learned and the things that were key to my recovery. Does that make sense? So, but like I say, it can be anything, and I'm more than happily, the way that we do it within Course Creation Blueprint, which I think I'm going to keep that same name. The way I do it there is, one of the ways is with a challenge where we just literally start splurging everything we can teach. When you splurge everything you can teach and you literally brainstorm it all, you then think, okay, well, what does that mean? And who is that for? And then we kind of break it down that way. And that's what we do within Course Creation Blueprint. We kind of break down what you can do, what your heart's singing for you to do, and we kind of create something like that. And so, that's a bit of brainstorming and a bit of stuff you maybe need to think, okay, have a little think. But if in doubt, if you have no idea and you're getting really in your head, 2 years ago, like literally 2 years ago, generally is quite, especially if you've been on quite a healing journey. Think about where you were 2 years ago, think about where you are now. What's the difference? What's changed? And what have you learned? And that could be, it could be as simple as, how I mean, some people do like how to buy a house, how to, like I say, how to decorate a house yourself, how to actually, like, because of the world I'm in, how to run a business and home educate your kids without losing your fucking mind. Some people do that, you know. I do a course creation course and how to run a business and have a baby and 2 kids and not worry. I mean, that's, you know, that it's like, how do you even think? I mean, a lot of women get very, very lost when they are forced to be at home. No, not forced, but they're now a mum and, oh my God, what's happened? So for me, it's really important for people who want more to have more, to be able to know that they can do more. Because when I had my second baby, I was lost. I didn't have a business. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I felt like I don't want to, sounds really, you might really hate this, but I didn't want to just be a mum. I loved being a mum, but it wasn't enough for me. I wanted it to be enough. I wanted it to fulfill me, but it didn't do enough for me. And I'm unapologetic for that. I wasn't for a long time, but I felt I should be enjoying this more. And I enjoyed it when I found my thing. I enjoyed it a lot more when I found my thing that was just for me. So yeah. The other thing, so where do you start? That's where you start. You actually start. It will never be enough. My daughter is 32. Yeah. And I suppose I'd grown up with entrepreneurial parents who just got on and did stuff. So I wanted to show my children as well that, you know, it's okay to want more and it's okay to be more and it's okay, you know, but I also didn't want to put them in nursery and school. So I kind of said, well, I want it all. So how do I do that? And for a while I didn't know. And so I now help people have it all because it's that important. So that's what I do. My journey is being enough. Which is coming up next year, is being enough for yourself and everything else. And so where do you start? Where you start is what you're good at. You are amazing. Oh, thanks, Jane. I am amazing. Thank you. So are you. So is everybody I think everybody is amazing, but yes, I do feel amazing, and thank you for that, and I'll take that. Thank you very much. So you start, if nowhere else, you start you 2 years ago, because actually the best thing you can do is just get your first course out there. And this is where the next bit is right. So you could think me too. Okay, so me 2 years ago. So if you have an idea of you 2 years ago, where was I 2 years ago? 2 years ago, what would be 2022 now? Oh my God, is that it? 2020. I just, wow, yeah. So I had moved out. I was doing really well with managing my ex-husband and his narcissisticness. And that was me. I'd moved out. So if I was going to start from scratch now, I'd probably say how to break the ties of a narcissistic marriage. If I was going to do my first thing now, me 2 years ago, that'd be where I'd go. And so the next thing you do is you test the water a little bit. You start putting out, you think, okay, so I think I know that I could probably cut people's time down. I know that, oh my God, what did I do? How did I eventually leave? And I'll start ruminating. How did it actually happen? How did I actually stop being the feeding for this person? How did I stop being the source of energy? How did I actually cut the emotional ties from him and think, okay, cool. How did I break away? How did I how did I stop shaking every time he was at the door? How did I get my daughter, you know, all the things? And because I've been through it, I could totally experience it with other people. And so that's what I would do right now. And I would and I'd start writing all the things that I did to overcome it. That's where you start. The next thing is like, oh, that's all very well, Luce, but I've also got to have a job. I've got a job. So it's all very well saying write a course. And I've just said it takes quite a bit of time. It can take a bit of time to do because you've got to do videos and live coaching. You've got marketing. So I told you with my Life on Purpose and thing course creation last January, took me 6 hours or so a week, you know, maybe a bit more than that. Yes, the financial rule was fine, but not maybe the first course I ever did got me 2 clients and I charged £100 each for my lower back pain course. £100 for literally to get rid of lower back pain. Utterly ridiculous, but that's what I felt comfortable at the time. 4-week course, got rid of lower back pain, live coaching every week. It was phenomenal, but that was never gonna pay the rent and feed the kids. So you think, well, where on earth am I going to find the time? The key is you're not going to. Which sounds really nuts, but maybe a bit of a secret to the big people who do amazingly great launches, and they've launched a brand new course. You might see, I've never done this before. This is going to be amazing, amazing. They haven't got any content yet. I'll be honest with you. No one has any content yet. So the first time you launch a course, you don't have the content. Okay. And you're like, what the fuck? You can't do that. Well, you can, because you actually start brainstorming what your content's going to be. You just don't start making the content yet. So you have an outline, you have an idea, you know where you want to go. But if before you've even tested the water with your people, before you've even got any of it, you start creating a course. I know because firstly, I did it. And secondly, I watched some of my clients thinking that, oh, do you know what? One person from the first course in January thought, oh, I hear what you're saying, Lucy, but you're wrong. Okay, I'm wrong. 8 months later, he wrote a course and it flopped, and he had to go back and do something else because he spent 8 months fine-tuning this beautiful product that nobody wanted. And he wasn't prepared to change it because he'd put so much time and effort into it. So it's like, wow, so ego. Also, I can't, I've just literally sunk thousands into this thing. I didn't say I told you so. I said, why? He said, because I didn't feel authentic enough to sell something I hadn't created. I said, but you can create it. So what you do is you monetize it, you create the buzz well before you even write a single module. Now, I know this because I've done it over and over again, and it's not fake, and it's not, what it is it's totally intuitive. Because when I first did Relationship Detox, I knew roughly what I was going to cover on those 6 weeks. Yeah, it brings up, that's why I have a course on it, Lisa. So when the shit comes up, we can deal with it. Most people go, you can't do that. And I'm like, you have to do that. It's the only way to tap, 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 tap. So when I first did Relationship Detox, I was like, I know what I want to cover. I'd written my plan. I knew what I wanted to cover. I knew what the 6 weeks would look like. I just hadn't created it yet because I don't know what they're going to need. Now, if I created it all, I'm assuming I know what my clients need. I'm assuming that I know how this is going to go, and I've got absolutely no leeway for change. So how authentic is that? I'm assuming that people I've never met before and the people I've attracted, don't even know yet because I've never written this course before. So I attract people in, I've got it all wrong. So I then have to go and change it all anyway. So it's not a case of, oh, I know, what am I going to write about? Right, let's sell into it with no idea. What it is you're not doing all the content creation. The one way to absolutely not create a course that you sell is to create it before you sell it. The people I've met who've got these beautiful courses in their little outbox never put it out to market, ever. Because it's never fine-tuned enough. It's never good enough. It's a complete perfectionist nightmare. So they never actually put it out there. So if you haven't got anything, you've got nothing to lose, have you? And also you can change your mind. So when I put an idea out there, I'm not stifled. If everyone says, well, that sounds a bit shit. Okay, not the idea I'm going to go with then. Let's try something else. I haven't spent 6 months on an idea that nobody wants. Or I think, there's a real hole in the market, but they don't want it from me. They want it from someone else. So I am not limited. I am not limiting my creativity I put offers out there. And if it doesn't float, okay, nobody wants it. That's fine. Cool. No worries. And there's no harm, no foul. My ego hasn't had a beating. I haven't lost 8 months of work. I've had a few minutes of creating some Canva. I know ideas. I know how to put it out there. I wouldn't even put a sales page together until I had some traction. Yeah. So I always know roughly what I'm going to do, but I don't create a single thing. So there you go. That's something you might not hear for free. You have to buy the course and to tell you they didn't write the course usually. This was never written before you were here. They won't tell you that. So I'm telling you that the big people who write them and say this is a brand new thing, you can guarantee they've got nothing behind it. Yeah, they've got an idea, but they haven't got the content, the physical videos. They haven't got all the written stuff. They might have a module or two kind of half done. But any more than that, and you are literally, it's a recipe for disaster. And actually isn't integral. It isn't holding you to integrity because, like I said a minute ago, those people who sign up, then if something takes a curveball, you've got nowhere to go. So last night, for the people who were there, I'm currently running a course, Prosper on Purpose, about understanding how to find your purpose and how to make money with it. Simple. All the videos you'll see that were like snippets of the coaching call that I knew what I was going to talk about. I mean, you could see I'd planned out the certain amounts of it, but I hadn't made any of the videos for that module until after we'd had the coaching call, because then I knew what was relevant. I knew the feedback from you guys, and I was able to use that to your advantage by making a video that was relevant to who is there. Not, well, this is what I think they're going to want. I actually found out from you what you found important there and where the conversation went, what kind of, the questions that were asked and things. I was able to create really valid content, not content based on me. Does that make sense? So you'll find the videos are quite relevant because they're not just based on me, they're based on the people I'm serving. So that's why it's so important. And it does bring up stuff. I'll be honest, it does. It'll bring up, it'll make you panic. But I teach in Course Creation Blueprint, I teach you how to do that with authenticity and in your way. So my Course Creation Blueprint isn't that, well, there you go, there's a little box, fill that in and you've got your course. It is all about how you want to do it. And I show you how to do social media your way, masterclasses, 5-day challenges, all these different things, or just trust the universe, which actually is probably more of nobody employs me because of my incredible strategy and tech skills. Nobody. So my strategy is very intuitive. My strategy is very intuitive and it works. I show you how to do to tune into your intuition and things like that. So it's a blueprint for you to use over and over again, and it's something the way I do it. But each time I create a course, it's a tuning in version. It's a real honest. This is big for me. Is it big for you? And it either hits with people or it doesn't, and is either a learning thing for me or it's a teaching thing for me. It really does depend. Sometimes it's a lot of learning and sometimes it's a lot of teaching, and that's okay. So you don't find the time, you find the time because what you do is you then sell the course. And then once you've sold into it, which I teach you how to do it through whichever medium you want to do, whether masterclasses or emails or whatever, you've already made the money for writing the course you haven't yet written. Does that make sense? I am, like I said, I'm giving secrets away that most course creators will make you pay for, if I'm honest with you. So you've then monetized, but you monetize before you make it. There you go. So you create the need, and you basically the people who have bought into it have paid for you to create it whilst you're doing it. Okay, and then what you do when you've done it the first time you do it is quite intense. It's really awesome. When I do a first ever course, I do the coaching on one day, and I have a separate day for Q&A, because I then need to understand, right, how did that work? What do I need to do again? So the first time I launch a course, it's a beta launch. It's cheaper, and I tell them it's the first time I've launched it. I'm going to need your help. That's how I do it. I asked them, so I'm launching this. It will be this price. It's not sales. It'll be this price once, because it's the first time I've done it. So we're going to, it's going to be, I need a bit from you. I'll give, but I'm going to need something from you as well. I'm going to need your feedback. I'm going to need like understanding of where you're at. And that's how you write it the first time. The second time you do it, you literally can cut your time in it by 2/3, because you don't need to run it twice. So I do live coaching with all my courses. That isn't even necessary. I just like doing that. And then I don't do the Q&A. I don't need to do the Q&A. I don't want to do it because I do that within the same week now. Otherwise it would be too long. So it is more time. It takes more time to write the first one, but then literally you have it. You've got it done. 8 weeks done. Then when you come to rinse and repeat, it does sound a little bit, but it basically is that. Then you fine tune it. You now know what's in all your modules. You can add to it if you want. You can make it a bit more fancy, but you can then talk from testimonials, and then you charge the proper amount for it. So not only are you then working less, but you are actually making more, because actually the value of the course has now gone up, because your client's time that they're going to need to give you to help them learn something is in half as well. So you're not going to need as much time from them. You're not going to need as much time from you. And all of a sudden you have a very profitable thing that's very valuable to your clients and very valuable to you too. And the more you do it, the better it gets. So each time you run it, the better it gets. And yet the less work you're doing for it, less physical work you're doing for it. But the value is still there. And there's a lot of stories that will come up around, you can't do that. That's terrible. That's what did I call? I think I even called myself a crook when I looked in the mirror once. How dare I take money for something I've already done once? I felt really like, oh, it's evil. What am I doing? But I thought, God, there's so much value in it. There's so much there that I could make another course, but why? Like, it's amazing. Is it, I've got to put it out there, because I'm doing the world a disservice by not having it. And so with my course creation, I've done it 3 times, and it's fucking amazing. You go from not having a bloody clue, 8 weeks later, most people have their courses pretty much ready to go. It's incredible. The first time I ran it, like I said, there's a bit more involvement. The last time I ran it, every single person has now been able to come up with a course to launch. And not only that, they can come back and every time I run it, I let everybody who's ever been on my course come back and do it again whenever they want. So people get massive value from signing up with me once. Same as Prosper on Purpose. When I run it again next June, you guys can come back and think, oh my God, that was something I didn't even take in because there's so much to take in the first time. Oh my God. So I give people lifetime to come back. So I think that's important. It's important to me. And what I also do is then, do a monthly catch up to make sure people are okay, people who want any coaching, and it's a monthly group catch up. So I offer quite a lot of value for it because that's what I want to do, but I also like to, you'll see quite often I have a lot of people who do a lot of work with me, because I do offer a lot of value. And if people like the way I work, then they want to work a lot with me, which is really, really cool. So I tend to see a lot of repeat business, but I think that's because I give a lot. I give what I'm comfortable giving as well. And I don't, like I said, don't watch the clock, otherwise it would all be fucked, but that's fine. There'll be a lot of mind monkeys that come up about who the fuck would buy it anyway. Who am I? You get a lot of imposter syndrome when it comes to who'd buy my course. Like, who cares about like knitting for dogs? Who would even do that? Now, if you can think of something that you're good at or that you've overcome, you'd be damn sure that someone else is struggling with it. So it doesn't have to be this huge expansive thing. It can be, I'll give you an example. One of the ladies from the first course, she's an incredible EFT practitioner, and she'd been working with teens, really troubled teens who were struggling to leave school and were getting into all sorts of bother and things. And she was wanting to write a 6-week course, but helping the whole family. So you can imagine if you were a practitioner trying to help everyone in the family within a 6-week you think how, and then she couldn't market it. It fell completely on its ass because she was talking to everybody all at once. I said, who do you really want to work with? She went, I want to work with the mums. So she wrote a course on empty nesters, and it was beautiful. So she actually was there saying, because she was so, you said, when you get that letter through the post that they've got the university place and something in you dies, you think, wow, I didn't even know that was a thing, but it was incredible. And the way that she spoke about it was incredible. And she got a load of people in just because she actually helped people understand that that's what they were suffering with, that's what their symptoms were, and that how to actually start to rebuild a life after it. And it was absolutely gorgeous. Another lady wanted to do it about eczema. I've struggled with eczema, but I can't go, and then she was actually, it's not about eczema, it's about loving yourself as you, it's not about how to get rid of eczema because it's the bane of your life and it makes you look ugly. She actually realized it was loving yourself as you are, and she's flown. Because when she really dug deep to it, it wasn't about getting rid of eczema, it was about loving yourself even if you have got eczema on your face. How do you continue with life when you have got a flare up, when you have put on weight, when you can't, how do you go out the door without makeup? So how do you actually love yourself anyway? And it was so much more powerful because it's what she really had to learn. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a big old subject. It doesn't have to be 8 weeks. It doesn't have to be 12 weeks. It could be a 3-week deep dive into learning something. But the power of it is humongous, especially if it's a journey you've done. So let me see if I've got any more. Okay, cool. And another big thing that people say, well, I can't. You say some words that make my heart pop. Oh, do I? Oh, cool. Not in a coronary. No, okay, cool. I'm joking. Okay. No, I know. I'm not laughing. I got a bit nervous there, maybe. Or I don't want to go all gushy on camera. I've cried like 17 times today. Like when you just think, but why won't the Weetabix just like dissolve quicker in milk? Like when you're like, why would they do that today? Some people here, I'm like literally about to have a baby, so most things are making me cry or laugh or shout. I do a lot of shouting, which is very nice. Anywho, when you're no good at marketing and selling, like, oh my God, do I have to sell this? How do I do that? And people who maybe follow me would think, well, I can't go on camera like that. That's just awful. How do you get on camera with like no clothes on? I mean, often, if you go back in any of my things, you'll often see that I generally probably I get a lot of inspiration in the shower or the bath. So I generally will do live videos. I saw your foot tonight in the bath. I saw it, Jane. So like I say, if you were able to overcome that, you could actually help people with that if that's a thing you ever struggle with. So I can't do that. I can't just rock up on camera with a towel on. Like, who does that? And so some people think that you have to do that in order to be able to market yourself. Now, another complete, you might know this already, but the only way to market anything you've got is to be 100% totally unashamedly honest and true to yourself, is to be more you than you've ever been in your life. That's how you market. I do give you tips on, how to do things and maybe a process that you could follow if you want, or I give you places to start, but basically you have to be okay with whatever's right for you. That's marketing. Marketing is a really simple, there's I'll tell a 2-step process. You show someone what you're good at and you make someone an offer. Okay. So tonight I've showed, I have showed and will show you how you can start and where you start if you want to make a course. And then I'm going to make you an offer to join my course creation. That's what I'm going to make you an offer to do. Okay. And some of you go, oh, that sounds great. And some of you go, not quite me yet. That's it. But what you do is you offer value. You offer someone something that they can work on, and then you make them an offer. That's marketing. That's it. That's as simple as it needs to be. Show them what you can do, make them an offer. Show them what you can do, make them an offer. That's pretty much it. How you do that, like I give a million, and I don't give a million ways, it would take a long time. I give a lot of different ways in how you actually show up and do that. But it's that simple. Most of this is very simple. It's just that what gets in the way is our stories and stuff and our beliefs. And even when I do course creation, I show anybody who does EFT. When I run the course, I actually run a separate one for anybody who's a practitioner. So I show you how to use EFT in a group setting. So anyone who's done any of my courses, I show you how to do what I do in a group setting, so that you can actually help people do the whole bubble bursting. I actually give you the whole process that I've made to do that, because it's really great. Now, I wouldn't show people who weren't EFT practitioners that, so I put that as a side thing. So anybody who is an EFT practitioner, I give you that whole protocol that I've written to do with past lives, as well as EFT and matrix. So I've done that. It works. You've done it. It's great. But I give you all of that as well, because I started just doing this for EFT practitioners. And then I realized, well, anybody can do it. Anybody can write a course. Anybody could benefit from my processes that I put in place, because my processes aren't cookie cutter. They're just an action to take that will lead you on to the next step. And then the rest will become obvious. So, but yeah, when it comes to marketing, there is, oh God, you see it everywhere, don't you? You don't need ads. You don't need any of that. You can do all that if you want. Again, I'm not your person if you want ads training, because I don't do it. I genuinely don't. And yeah, like I'm sure there's people who can do it. Whatever platform you use, it works for. But there is obviously an element of marketing. You're going to need to be able to put yourself out there. How you do it is up to you as well. And there's loads of ways. And like I say, it's not just a case of telling people about what you do. It's a way that you do it that shows them how working with you can change their lives. Then you give them the opportunity to work with you. I like doing it like this because I'm at my best when I'm doing things like this, masterclasses, hour-long things. That's when I'm at my best and when people really get to know me. And somebody actually, gosh, about a year ago, didn't sign up with me because my voice really annoyed her. She went, I love you, but I couldn't be with you for 8 weeks. You'd do my head in. I was like, okay, awesome. That would have been a bit awkward. And somebody else said, again, they did sign up because I don't do lots and lots of paperwork. Don't do millions of PDFs. I don't sit there and say, yeah, you can print off your workbook. How much fun is that? Because that makes me want to die myself. So I hate workbooks and cringe and using my printer because of it. Oh God. I try and make this as simple and as easy and as hassle-free and as intuitive as possible. And I am always learning. So much so that actually I'm actually taking out next time for Prosper on Purpose and anything I've ever done, I'm taking out the very first week and shifting it around. For those of you who've worked with me, I'll share this with you because it's something, do you know what? It came to me last night. Just before I went to bed, after an argument, after I'd worked like for 17 hours yesterday, and I'd had a bit of, why can't you just fill out the dishwasher? I'm pregnant, you mean person, and stormed off to bed. It came to me that I have a real, like I said, don't want or what your desires. I was like, well, actually, isn't desiring still a bit of lack? How about we stop desiring and just go into receiving mode? How about we stop limiting ourselves with desires and just start receiving? How about we just stop wanting, stop desiring, and just go into glorious receivership, like receiving what we want, whatever it is. And receiving absolute total abundance means you don't stop yourself with a thing that you might desire. And it was such a revelation. And then all of a sudden, I got 3 emails from people apparently I signed up to, I subscribed to. No idea. Like, really? And then I had 2 women had like tagged me in a, they're my friends, but for some reason they tagged me in 99 others in a, I was like, whoa, on pure and utter divine receiving. So I'm like, whoa, this has rocked my boat. I knew that it wasn't about wanting. I knew that it wasn't about desiring, but I think desire was the best I got. I was like, we've got to stop desiring stuff because it's all there anyway. What we doing? Desiring stuff. It's the automatic divine right to receiving that we need to be working on, not the desiring. So already I'm rewriting the first module of for the last 2 years, it's been about what do you want and why. Well, that's out the window now. So when we go and do course creation, I'm rewriting the first week because we've got to get out of the desire. I know, Lisa. So I never stop changing. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with desiring and knowing your why. I just think it's limiting. So I don't think there's a wrong, and everybody teaches it, and I've learned it, and that's what I've done. It just came to me last night that it's very limiting. And I think by doing the session last night all about purpose, I was like, and then purpose, because multiple purposes. There's a new word, purpose. I just thought I really struggled with the desire word. It feels very lustful, which is coming from a place, but I didn't want it to be want. And desire, I was like, desire, is it desire? And reading. I literally tuned in and just said, no, it's about the ability to accept total abundance and receive it. That's it. That's what we need to tune into. And we've got to almost stop desiring because we have it all already. So it's the switching on of receivership. It's like I still haven't enough desire. Yeah, but like, then stop. So then let's not do that. So between now and then, I'm getting my head down and really tuning into what that means. I'm actually taking a course with somebody who's going to really help me tune in to ultimate receivership, like to ultimate. So that when I run my course in the end of January for course creation, the first thing we start is, right, let's just knock all out what you want out the window. It isn't fucking important, because what you need to do is understand how to receive with such utter unapologetic, unshamed. We're not going to desire anymore because that's bullshit. So this isn't actually what I was meant to talk about tonight, but you know me. So that's what's changing. But I will say there's nothing wrong with your writing what you want and writing why you want it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with desiring stuff. It just feels like a long way round, and it feels like the limits are just being put in, aren't they? And the limits are there because of your stories. And I'm getting more and more sure. Here's a little, all right, I didn't mean to do this either, but here's a little quandary for you to ponder on, right? You know, we talk about timeline stuff. So I don't, there's one lady here I don't know your history on, but bear with me if I'm talking like, complete woo-woo, but well, everything that's already has happened and will happen and is happening is all happening at the same time, right? Is everyone on board with that? So time is an illusion. We have infinite possibilities of the world we have created and are creating. So why are we so busy healing our stories if it's already happening at the moment anyway? Like, why are we doing all the work all of the time when maybe we need to just, if it's already happening now, surely it could be instant. Surely instant receiving, instant healing is a thing. Because if we're living all of our moments of every single life we've ever had and are having and will ever have is happening now, it surely must be instant. There's a way of making it instantaneous because we're already in every single instant all of the time anyway. Just putting it out there. So I'm going to So I'm that just like, oh my God, I'm mind blowing myself here. Like, yes, last night. I'm sure having babies is really good for like making you like completely doolally, but more connected to source. So I'm going to have my journaling pad when I'm in labor, because apparently that's when you're really close to source. Labor and orgasm. So next time you're having an orgasm, start journaling because that's when you're closest to source. Just saying. honest, there's a real thing. One of our other clients you met on usually I plan the tea. Yeah, like honestly, manifesting whilst having an orgasm, it's a real thing. Yeah, totally. It's really fun as well. I know. Anyway, right, I've gone completely off. I was not meant to talk about this because at all. This is what I meant to talk about when you've all done. Yeah. So, what I wanted to try what I wanted to show whoever wanted to see. No, let's talk. Well, no, you're on mute, so I can't. So I'm not talking orgasms. I will talk about this in a minute, Jane. They're very powerful. Any way you can connect to source is a really, really powerful thing. So, like I say, so things like labor, orgasms, meditation, if that's your thing. There's lots of ways to get yourself out of the way to connect to source. Grounding is a really good way of doing it. Just being, losing time, but orgasms and labor, apparently. There you go. So I'll let you know what my journaling happens in labor. So what I came here to do was actually to show you that anybody from any walk of life with absolutely any training and background has something to teach, right? Even if it's about orgasms, Jane, you maybe teach people to have orgasms. That wouldn't be a bad thing to do a course on. Just trying to saying. You could teach people how to have healthy orgasms. Like, if you think that's ridiculous, Google it. You Google what you think might be a ridiculous course title, and I bet you someone's doing it already. Just to make yourself feel a bit better. When I've signed up a few years ago to Denise Duffield Thomas. She writes great books on money boot camp. Are you two cheersing each other? And I signed up because I thought I don't have any money issues, but she does this really cool thing on archetypes. I really want to know about archetypes and all that. Anyway, when I signed up to her course, I might have told you this story before. When I signed up to her course, the first thing she taught was EFT. I'm like, hang on a sec. She's not even a practitioner, by the way. Just saying. What she does is says this is the key way to pattern interrupt. And she has sold her $2,000 course to about 10,000 people over the last 6 years. She sells her books. She does really easy launches. She's written a book called Chillpreneur. She's like, just you make it easy, man. That's it. Enjoy life while you're doing it. It's a good book. I've got a couple of copies here, I think. There we go. One of them's there, Chillpreneur. Denise Duffield Thomas, she's great, she's fun. The biggest aha I got was when she started tapping, and I was like, oh my God. So it doesn't, like, she's the money but she literally talks about money and how you get over yourself enough to make money. And that's what she does. And her community is massive. It's a really incredible community. And you see how people literally launch into earning lots of money when they stop with all the shit, when they stop with all the patterns. But for me personally, it was the fact that she used tapping as her basis. I was like, gosh, it doesn't have to be difficult. She literally teaches what we already know, but she does it in such a way that makes it easy, it's accessible, and you can do it. Yes, she has a massive workbook, but she sends it to you anyway. So eventually, if it comes from Australia, you get it through, or you can print it all off. But what I'm saying is, it's like you would be surprised what people offer courses on when they have a really great subject and they know they can help people and they've done it themselves. And you'd be absolutely shocked at what people can do courses on and what their content is. And if you've bought enough courses like I have, I bought a lot because I'm intrigued on how they run them. When I started doing course creation, I bought courses just to see how people run them and what they do and really how they manage it. And I'm coming from a different angle. I don't nick any of their stuff, but I do just see, oh my God, actually, you don't need to know that much. Too much content is not a good thing. I've seen courses that have had so much content. It's like, oh my God, you just don't want to go in it because it's just too much. It completely puts you off. So there's a really fine balance. And so you can start wherever you are at now. A 4-week course on playing gongs, a 4-week course on, I'm going to do a training basically on teaching people how to tap for themselves, not train them in tapping, but you could even do that. I had a membership called Tap the Crap Out of That. So for 50 quid a month, people would come and just tap with me every week, but memberships weren't for me. That kind of membership where it was a heavy going membership wasn't for me. I knew I wanted an ongoing thing. That's why I'm doing business brunch, but I didn't want to do tapping and be the leader all the time. I wanted it to be a bit more facilitator. So it took me another year. And then I found the business brunch, which I really am enjoying doing. But what I suppose it's just, you can write a course now, but you're probably making it very complicated in your head. So have an idea of something you've overcome in the last 2 years, run with it. And like I say, I can't teach you all the ways in which to do that, but that's a place to start. What will the outcome be? Always start with the outcome. Start with the end in mind, always. So the outcome, that's it. You want to know what the hell are they going to get for it? So what's the end point? What was the end point for that course? And it wouldn't be the end point for their life, but it might be, well, I'm going to teach you how to do this thing. It might not be everything you need to. So if you're going to say, I'm going to show you how to renovate a van. Well, actually, maybe I'm just going to show you the first course, how to strip a van down. I'm not going to show you then how to do electrics, but then the next course I do will be like a 4-week course on how to run the electrics through the van and how to panel. The next one is how to source all the furniture. You don't need to do it all in one. You just need to pick something to be able to, run with it, and then pick something and then start talking about it with your people. Start saying, if I'm thinking about doing this thing, the outcome would be this, what your thoughts. You can test the water a little bit. You can ask people you work with. You can test the water a little bit. Again, I teach how to do that as well. I'm probably a bit more, the way I was taught was very nicey. I felt that. So I just go all in and just create well, no, you need to do this because this is this, and we'll just do a training and we'll just do that. So I'm quite cavalier in the way I do it, but I can teach you different ways because the way I do it isn't suited for everybody, or is, so I show you how to do that. The time element is irrelevant because it's just an idea. You're just floating an idea. You don't do anything until you've been paid for it anyway. End of. So that'll be the sticking point for some people. So we do a lot of journaling on that if need be. And again, we talk about the marketing side of it, and there's very easy ways in which to get your message across. It's about talking about the same thing in a different way a lot of the time. So you're just saying, well, actually, I'm going to commit to this thing for 30 days. I'm going to see how this floats. I've got my business going, and there's no harm, no foul. I'm not putting a massive amount of time in it, but I do want to see where this idea can take me. And when you focus on a thing for 30 days, when you focus on talking about a thing, you see how much it actually resonates with you. And if after like 4 days you get a bit bored talking about the thing, you're like, it's probably not my thing. It's probably not something I want to actually take any further. If I can't talk for 30 days about it, then it might not be a thing I really want to talk about. So the reason I did the back pain one in the end was because I had a Pilates practice. So a lot of people wanted to do it. So I kind of, I did it. But so I possibly wouldn't have done if I hadn't got kind of a sitting audience there. But it was a very good learning curve. And I did pre-make a lot of videos, and I realized that is not the way to do it because it was a lot of time wasted. But and a lot of things I thought I needed to be, which I didn't. I could just show up anyway. There's a lot of learning curve, but I can teach you all that as well. And yeah, it's making offers when you do have people who want to work with you, and it's not being afraid to make the offer. So like this, for example. So course creation blueprint, it might change the name because I quite like the word architect, because that came out of the business branch. Architecture, architecture. I don't know why, but that kind of came into my head. But currently it's called course creation blueprint. It is, I don't know the exact percentage, but most of the people who took that course in the last year have made their money back, because they charge, even if they charge a third of what I charge them, that's 3 people taking their next course. That's it. So it's not something it's a business decision to do. If you are ready to create a course, you think that's where I want to go. I want to actually have a different lifestyle a little bit. I want to be able to do something like that and have more time, have more freedom. If nothing else, I'm walking the walk, because I'm literally doing it whilst having a baby, and I'm running courses and I'm marketing other courses. And so if that's not showing that it's possible for anyone to do with any amount of time, the course costs, it's 111 a month for 11 months, or it's all up front, £1,111. You can do it over 11 months, not 12, because 11 just fit because it's nicer numbers. And if you know me at all, it's that nice. So I've taken a month off the end. And because I'm not starting until January, what I do offer people is to upgrade. If anyone's there, you can have an upgrade. What I'm offering people, if you're inspired now, because I know this isn't me being a dickhead, but I know that people either make a decision in the moment or they never do. So if you're you know what, I know it sounds like a costly thing, I know this, but if anybody who wants to write courses, you'll get a course out using this, unless it's really not for you. But most people have done it, and I can send you testimonials of all the people who've done it. But what I am doing is, because I'm not running it till January, because I've got to have a baby and don't quite know when it's going to come, I'm starting it in January. Anybody who signs up now will automatically get 2 months of Boxer access, which if you've ever done with me, Be in Your Pocket, which is where I'm there every day. You can bounce ideas off me either by text or by voice note, and I contact you back every day. So you don't have lots of long sessions, but you do have 2 months support for the whole length of me actually doing the live coaching. You can contact me with any question about anything, and that's worth just over £1,000. I'm literally just saying I'm going to put that in to anybody who wants to sign up sooner rather than later. And the reason I do it is not for FOMO, it's to make you decide if it's something you really want to do. It either really is or it really isn't, but I cannot express enough how course creation will change your life. And at the end of it, you'll have a very clear blueprint of what you're going to do. You'll have a way you're going to market it. You'll know who you're going to serve, and you'll know how you're going to serve them. You'll have a marketing strategy, if that's what you want to call it. And you'll be doing something that actually lights your fire up, because whilst you're doing the course, you'll also be talking about the thing. And like I've just said, the first thing we do is you'll learn from my learnings that I'm spending quite a bit of money in the next couple of months learning about utter the receiving rather than the wanting. So we start with tuning into receiving. That's the first week. So it's now not what's and whys, it's divine receivership. So what it does do is take a lot of the guesswork and the strategy, and I must have a team and the ins and outs of it, and it is the total divine right to success. So that's what we start with before we go anywhere else, and we get rid of all the desires, all the wants, all the how much do you want to earn, all that limit, because that is just a limit. So that's where we start, and then we get quite practical as well as get quite woo-woo. So that's what I'll teach you to do, is run a masterclass and talk about the thing you want people to sign up to, and allow people to sign up or not, and still give value. So I do teach that as well, how to run a masterclass, you see people do 5-day challenges. I teach how to do that. I don't enjoy 5-day challenges mainly. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't love it, but it's a really great tool if you do. And yeah, and so if you want to get away from one-to-ones, have my happiest clients are the group session clients, because I help them connect, and some of them even collaborated as well. And you can still have your one-to-one practice with your without the pressure of what am I going to do. It does mean that when you do have your one-to-ones, you are a lot more free, and you actually don't get so scared of charging, because you're not so scared of rejection. Or if I don't charge, what if they say no? Then I'm not going to have that client. They're not going to want me, and I'm too expensive. And it takes all that out of it. So, yeah. So I think if people did nothing else with me, would you have a place to start to have an idea of what you would do for a course? Or you actually got more questions than you had at the beginning? You can write this in the chat. It's really good to know, because I want you to go away thinking, oh God, was that just like a waste of time? I want you to be able to have ideas of what you orgasms, ideas of what you could actually do, even if you think, well, I love Lucy, I just don't want to do the course with her. That's cool, by the way. Some people just come to my masterclasses and never ever do anything else with me, and that's cool too. So do you have an idea of how it could operate for you? Loads of post-its on my desk now. So yes, loads of ideas. Yeah. Yeah. So like I say, something I do run is the brainstorming. So part of the course creation blueprint is that we actually have this massive brainstorm and actually start filing your ideas to really get clear on what your next move could be. And because it's quite powerful on its own, I did it last week, and I've done it about 3 times before. I run that session completely on its own. So I actually do. If people think, well, I don't know if I want to do a full course, I just want an idea of where it could go more, I actually run, it's a paid session, but it gets you the brainstorm. Jan's written, the brainstorm is absolutely brilliant. Would thoroughly recommend it. Lucy is amazing at really listening and getting you to really connect and dig deep. Yeah, like they're powerful, the brainstorming. So if you see a brainstorming session come up, or you want one with your mates or whatever, they're really powerful, and I love doing them. And they are actually one of the key parts of the whole course. So if you did want to just do this complete brainstorm on what you could even do on a course, or what your next offer is, if you want to know what you could actually offer somebody and actually get a complete like spreadsheet, if you like, on what you could do, then literally get in touch with me, because I love running them, and they're a 2-hour session of an evening. So that's what that is. And that is also I run them as part of the course as well. So and I only do like literally up to about 5 or 6 people. I don't have many people on them, because I like it's very interactive. It is recorded, but it's only for those people who are there. So it's very interactive, and we all work together, and you get to play some music as well. So it's all very good. But yeah, so yeah, if people think, do you know what? Yes, I'm ready to start my course. I'm ready to do that. I would give you access immediately to all of the pre-recorded stuff now. But the actual live coaching, due to imminent baby arriving within about 2 weeks, is starting in January. But I would give you full access to work at your own pace through the current recordings, because I've done it 3 times now. So there's a lot of recordings there, and it would take you through the process. The live coaching is going to start in January. And if you thought, you know what, I'm up for it, I want to start it, I want to get going with this, I want to start January with with semi-passive, or actually fully passive, but ultimately if you wanted it to be, then you get 2 months from the day we start the live coaching. You'd get 2 months, 8 weeks of Voxer coaching, which is basically, you can send me a message. There's no limit at all to how many times you want to contact me a day. It's either a WhatsApp or Voxer. You send me a voice note with a question, I respond. That's it. It's as simple as that. And you have that for 8 weeks. And that's like up there, that's currently in itself, it's nearly £600 a month just to have that. So some people just, I do, one of my offers is that people just have that. So that's worth £600 a month on its own anyway. So for that 2 months, that's actually how much the course would be worth. So people pay that to me a month anyway, about £500 a month, £600 a month, to just have access to my intuition, which is really cool, isn't it? Like, I know I totally back my intuition, and people who last night said, I'm really intuitive, that could be an amazing offer you could offer somebody, is just pure connection to your intuition. They could just message you, you charge them a monthly fee, and they are happy to with that, and you are actually working the best way you can. So there's lots of ways to work, and you'll find out a lot of the ways you can actually work within your business. And lots of offers. So I do a section called offer alignment. So it's how to actually align your purpose, so with your offers as well. So what your purpose is with what you want to offer the world. So I do that within the course creation, because it's not always as simple as just an 8-week course. It's not always as simple as that. So I help you get aligned with what it really is, if that makes sense. So yeah, if you're sure you want to do it, you get that. If you're sure you sign in tonight, you get that. If you want to think about it a bit, and you also get one-to-one smash it session, which is an hour and a half, which I charge £195 for. And you can do that at any point, or you can split it into 2 45-minute sessions where we have a one-to-one session on where you're at. So if you did want to go for it now and sign up, then you get the 2 months of Oxford and a one-to-one 90-minute session with me. If you're like, well, no, I want to think about it. If you sign up before Friday, mainly because that's the 11th, it's my son's birthday, and so I like to have another 11 in there. Why not? It's 11, and it's all 11s. Then the Voxer comes off, but you do still get a session with me, a one-to-one session with me, which is really powerful as well, because I'm super duper intuitive, and I'm able to get to the nuts and bolts pretty quickly with people. So there you go. So that's I hope you've got stuff to think about. As always, I'm not stingy with time. I do have boundaries, loosely. I'm joking. I do have some boundaries, but if you want to know anything, or you want to have a chat with me, like, what do you think? I'll be very, very honest. I don't speak to people just so I can sell them stuff they don't need. That really isn't where I'm at. So if you're thinking it might be for you, but you're not sure, then I'll happily have a chat with you one-to-one for half an hour to see, well, actually, maybe this isn't what you need. Maybe you need this instead, or whatever. I'll be very, very honest with where you're at as well. But I'm going to stop recording in a minute, and then I'm going to open it up to any questions. So if anybody's watching the replay, I know a lot of you are, email me some questions if you've got them, or ask for a 30-minute session, and I can book one in for you as soon as possible, because I'm currently contracting. I'm joking. I'm not really. Oh, joking. Oh, I'm so funny. And modest as well, really modest. So I'm going to stop now. I hope everybody's on replay. I really, really hope you've got a lot out of it, and you know places to start. But my emails and my messenger and my WhatsApp and my phone is always open. So thank you very much. I'm going to drop the link to you tonight to sign up. And then I'll confirm your Voxer support, and you can have your one-to-one whenever you want. And yeah, so I'll send you the email tonight with the replay coming out tomorrow as well. So yes, I'm going to say good night to those people now. For everyone else, just stay there, and then we'll just we will do a little bit of questions as well. So I'm going to stop recording now. Oh, it's being annoying. It won't let me stop recording. Hang on. Yes.